We have 6 members present. We have a quorum.
Okay. This is a legal meeting of the Board of Education as advertised by the means specified in board policy. A complete copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the boardroom for your review. A copy of the agenda is available at the desk of the recording secretary. Now we will have the annual budget hearing. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. Waiting for that to load here. Go. All right, thank you. Welcome to the budget hearing for the 25-26 school year. The purpose of this hearing is to give taxpayers the opportunity to provide support, opposition, criticism, or suggestions and observations regarding the budget. The hearing is for the budget only. Other items will not be discussed. There will be a review of budget items, and the board will provide an opportunity for public comment. The adoption of the budget will take place by a vote during the September 22nd board meeting and not at this hearing. The budget is for all funds. The budget for all funds includes all the estimated resources for each fund, including the cash reserve. The district is not anticipating needing to expend all of the dollars this fiscal year in each fund, but does need to budget for it in its expenditures to show all resources of each fund are accounted for. So we've been talking about this budget and working through this. I appreciate the board's help since probably last November that we've been talking about how we're going to make the 25-26 budget meet our needs and our resources available. So I'm going to do a quick review of some of the stuff that we talked about at the last board meeting, just for any members that may not have seen it in the past, and then also from the feedback that I received from the board, show you how this looks forward for the 25-26 school year. So our budgeted expenses in 24-25 was $61,511,392. Our budgeted expenses for 25-26 is $60,749,155. This is a 1.24% decrease in our budgeted expenses. We have made some budget cuts, as I said, starting back in November throughout the course of this last year, working through balancing our budget. We've made budget cuts in the areas of legal services, student teacher stipends. We've cut some positions through staff attrition and contracted services, such as our behavior specialist, district technology facilitator, media specialist, and district transportation consolidation. Those cuts to our budget were estimated $876,000. The breakout of where that budget is for this current year then, staffing, $51 million, which is about 84% of our budget, and professional technical services, which is our contracted staffing, is about $4 million or 6.59% of our budget. You put those two items together, that makes about 91% of our entire fiscal budget for the 25-26 school year. Other items listed in there, supplies, that's our curriculum, classroom materials, other property services would be like our utilities, power, water, electricity. Financial legal services, our insurance, $479,000, and then the last one, dues, fees, other. That includes student teacher stipends, transportation, etc. Our projected revenues for the 25-26 school year, not including property taxes, we look at what we were looking at this last year, 24-25, was $27,617,358. We know that we will see a decrease in revenues for the 25-26 school years. Non-property tax revenues, $22,966,530. We are experiencing a 16.8% decrease in revenue. Biggest part, the reasons for those changes, we knew that we were going to see a reduction in state aid. We were notified of that right away in the spring of about $3.6 million. And we've also seen federal grants that have been reduced by $937,000. Most of those grants, our federal grants are, IDA, Title. Title was the one that took the biggest hit for us in that area. But again, most of them overall in general, we saw some decreases. So where does that non-property tax revenue come from? State aid, we're gonna receive $7.6 million. Special ed reimbursement, that's our 80% reimbursement of expenses from the 24-25 school year. That's $6 million. Other state resources is 1.9. Local resources, 4 million. County, 450,000. And our federal grants, 2.7 million. So that's the total revenue, non-property tax for 25-26, which again equals $22,966,530. Take that with our budgeted expenditures for the 25-26 school year of $60,749,155. And that gives you a difference between revenue and expenses of $37,782,625. And again, a lot of this information is still the same. I don't want to bore you with it, but I want to make sure everybody does understand. We did see a large valuation increase. In 24-25, our valuation was $3,791,000,000. Our cap that year was $34,697,112. And our property tax request last year was $34,293,070, right? This year, 25-26 now, our total valuation across the 4 counties has increased by about 13%. Valuation of the district now is $4,292,995,775. Our cap for property tax is $39,322,566. So our 25-26 general fund tax request for general fund is going to be $35,917,319. Again, looking at that loss of state aid, just in general, the loss in state aid was $3.6 million. We are looking at a total general fund increase of $1.6 million. We're not trying to recapture all of those funds that we've lost. We're trying to stay within an operating budget that is still respectful to our taxpayers and does not maximize the resources that we could. So here's the new information then. How does this all relate to the levy for us? Our general fund levy in 24-25 was 90.45 cents. Our anticipated revenue, our anticipated general fund levy will be 83.66 cents for the 25-26 school year. That levy in 24-25 generated $34,293,070. This levy will generate $35,917,319. Again, we are decreasing the levy, but because our valuations went up, that's why it generates more dollars. Last year, we did not budget any dollars into our special building fund, so our levy was 0 cents. This year, we're requesting to budget 1.88 cents into the special building fund. This is a fund where we put dollars into for school district projects, facility upgrades, roof replacements, HVAC, remodel of classrooms, just keeping up with the basic facility needs of our district. A lot of concrete projects, HVAC needs in the district. So we have not budgeted any dollars into this fund in the last few years. We can't continue to operate that way because we still have facility needs that we have to be able to account for. Our QC Puff levy, this is a bond. It's a bond payment that we have to pay every year. 2.06 cents was in a 24-25 school year. 1.82 cents will be our levy for the 25-26 school year. And then again, that just is the dollars that goes to pay that bond payment. Our total levy in 24-25 was 92.514 cents. Our total levy in 25-26 would be 87.37 cents. We are looking at using $2.2 million of cash reserves to help balance this budget. And again, that's one of those reasons why we didn't have to take all of those funds back that we lost. We can budget in our cash reserve. How does this affect the general homeowner? Tax on a $100,000 house, last year's levy would have been $925.14. On a $100,000 house this year, it's $873.70. But as I said, same thing last year. I know your home valuation went up potentially 13%, some more, some less. So with the 13% valuation, so that $100,000 house now becomes a $113,000 house. With the current proposed levy, would be $987.28. This is a time within the public hearing where we open up the hearing to feedback from the community. Anybody who would like to speak? Okay, seeing no, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry I'm late, so I haven't even had a chance to review the budget. All I do know is my name's Steve Jessen, Norfolk, and yeah, we can't continue to increase property taxes on the people of Nebraska. We just can't do it, and I just don't know what to say about this. We just got to go in a different direction. We cannot continue every year to take more tax dollars out of the property owners of the state of Nebraska. We're losing people in our state. I don't know if you realize that or not, and we need help from the schools. Very much so, because you guys are the ones that are driving the property taxes continually year after year. And the legislature has not been able to fix this, obviously, because I know the Pillen, his first year, gave you guys extra dollars, and somehow they've been spent and not used properly. And this sounds like a complaint. I am sorry I didn't get to see the whole budget here and all that stuff, and I just got to tell you, we got to go in a different direction. You know, you guys got commitments. I know you do. We got budget commitments as a school system, but every taxpayer's got commitments too. And they don't get to just go take it from somebody else to get it. And that's what you're doing. You're taking it from the taxpayer to pay for whatever it is. So either we got to figure out a way to cut something. One of these years, maybe we can walk out of this budget hearing with a reduction for the taxpayer, because it never works out to be a reduction for us. It's always an increase. And I'm telling you, we got to stop this. We're not going to survive. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Jan Hagerman, Norfolk, Nebraska. I would have to agree with what Steve is saying. I know how hard you've all been working at getting the dollars down. I see that. I've been to most of a lot of the board meetings. I see the cuts. You've been working, like you said, you started in November. You've been doing the whole time. And it's like, I don't know what to say, but my pocketbook says I'm paying more money, and I have to come up with it. I can't just not pay it. I don't know if they'll be able to put me in jail. I don't know. But you have to pay it. And I'm not concerned for myself as much as I am for my neighbors who are close to the poverty level in my neighborhood. And they have to come up with this. I know I have a rental. My rental, they're going to have to come up with more money, because I will pass on that increase in property tax to them. I just, like I said, I don't know what really to say, but somehow we have to equal this out so that taxpayers aren't paying more money. Because there's a place that's, I know there's a place where it's going to go, everybody's going to be in the red. How can we do this? So there's a limit to the amount of tax money that's available. And I've watched the legislature too, and seems like they cut one fund to put it to get someplace else. But $1 million cut from your budget that they gave you, then they gave us a tax, what was it called, write-off? Well, that decreased what I owed, but someplace it's got to all come out from somewhere. So it's a hard job you guys have to do, and I don't envy you at all. But that is my comment to say that someplace something's gonna happen here. So, and Eric, could I have a copy of all those slides so I can study them? I'd appreciate it, since I had the microphone, I guess. Yes, oh yes, later.
Thank you, Jan.
I want to thank both of you for coming in and speaking. For those that don't know me, I'm Bill McAllister, the new superintendent. I wanted to point out one thing that is happening. When we lost $3.6 million because our levy is not a dollar. The state figures our ability to raise money at a dollar levy. So a year ago, when this board lowered the levy, that ended up hitting us with less money with the levy reduction. Now this year, we lose $3.6 million because they lowered the levy. I would also point out about $220 million of the funds of the increased valuation came from new valuation. Thus, if your home, to address Steve's question, did not go up 13%, you will see a reduce in your taxes. All we can do with is the average, and that includes the new evaluation as well. So if your home didn't go up 13% or stayed the same, you will see a reduction in taxes.
Copy of that budget that you guys are proposing? I mean, I haven't seen the budget, so, and I don't see a copy of it here, you know, and that, it should be, the public should be able to have access to the total budget. I should be able to be able to see everywhere you're spending money. That should be a requirement that you guys have, and I don't see that here. And you know, it's hard to make comments when we don't know where you're spending your money. We don't know where you're spending the money. We don't know, and I do know a lot of what you're talking about, just so you know. But because I spend a lot of time at the legislature listening to them talk about your guys, you're the problem, and you talk about how the legislature's a problem and all this stuff. And this is what we go through every year. Everybody's got their finger pointed at somebody else, when in fact it costs us more money out of our pockets every year. And it comes out of your guys' pockets too. That's what makes it amazing to me that we don't have people right here in this room that are standing up on and saying, this is enough. We gotta figure this out, including you, sir. And I'm just saying, we're heading down the wrong path. Every time you guys raise our property tax, you're raising your property tax. I don't understand why you guys don't see that. And obviously you guys are getting raises that we're not out here in the public to pay for those offsets. So that's where I'm coming from it. But I really believe that there's supposed to be a budget. I should be able to see a budget here today. And not on the screen. I should be able to see a budget, an itemized budget. So,
We do have copies, and I'd be happy to sit down if you want to come in and visit with me sometime. I'd sit down and go through all that with you if you'd like.
so when are we voting?
September 22nd.
Okay.
That's what this,
Not behind.
At our next meeting where we do approve the budget, there will be a time for public comment there as well.
Before.
Yes.
Any more comments? Okay.
Just a quick question. What is our enrollment for this year? Has it gone up or down?
I looked at those numbers last week, and I think we're down like 4 students from a year ago.
Okay, so basically we gain, we lose. We're not taking in more students. We're not having to open more classrooms. We've got most of the remodeling and the safety features done at the schools. So we're not looking at a building increase this year. And since we haven't increased our enrollment, could we take a look at how many administrators we have at the secondary level, the high school? Do we need a principal and 3 vice principals and I mean, just a thought. I mean, every entity needs a manager, I get it, but do we need 4?
Well, I think there's 1,600 students in that
Uh-huh.
facility.
Yeah, when I was there, it was 3 grades, and we had a principal and a vice principal and 1,000 students. So, you know, it just seems to me that we should be able to get a better handle on that. Plus, we need to empower our teachers to have more control in their classroom without worrying about retribution from administration. I think that's important too. So, that's all.
Anybody else want to speak? The budget hearing will close, adjourned. We will next go on to the other. Tax hearing, yeah.
I believe we have to do the full roll call.
Yeah, you're right.
Present.
Mrs. Booth,
Present.
Madam President Carhart,
Present.
Dr. Gould,
Here.
Mr. McNally,
Present.
Mr. Stanton.
Here.
Okay. This is a legal meeting of the Board of Education as advertised by the means specified in board policy. A complete copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the boardroom for your review. A copy of the agenda is at the desk of the recording secretary. Now we'll have the annual tax hearing.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Madam President. Welcome to the local tax request hearing for the 25-26 fiscal year. The purpose of this hearing is to give taxpayers the opportunity to provide support, opposition, criticism, or suggestions and observations regarding the proposed tax request. The hearing is only for items related to the tax request resolution. There will be a review of the tax request, and the board will provide an opportunity for public input. Official action and voting on the tax resolution will be on September 22nd and not at this meeting. And it's posted up there on the board, the tax request special hearing. Norfolk Public Schools, Madison County 59-0002 is proposing the following tax request. General Fund, $35,917,319. Special Building Fund, $808,081. QC Puff, $782,525. This is a total tax request of $37,507,925. The total assessed value on property differs from last year's assessed value by 13.23%. The tax rate, which would levy the same amount of property taxes as last year, when multiplied by the new total assessed value of property, would be 0.817042 per $100 of assessed value. Norfolk Public Schools of Madison County 59-0002 proposes to adopt a property tax request that will cause its tax rate to be 0.8737 per $100 of assessed value. This is a reduction of 0.05144 from the current tax rate of assessed value, which is 0.92514. Based on the local property tax request and changes in other revenue, the total operating budget for all funds of Norfolk Public Schools, Madison County District 59-002 will decrease last year's operating budget of all funds by 4.91%. The percent increase or decrease in operating budget by specific taxing fund is as follows. General fund, 0.82%. Special building fund, negative 59.48%. QC Puff Fund, negative 6.94%. To obtain more information regarding the increase in property tax, citizens may contact Norfolk Public Schools, Madison County School District 59-002 at 402-644-2500 or email by going to the following web address, norfolkpublicschools.org/contact, and they can find my information there as well. At this point in time, I will open it up to public comment. If there's no one else from the public that would like to speak, I can close this public hearing, and we can move on to adjournment.
Meeting is adjourned. Now we will have our regular school board meeting. And we'll need to go through. We'll call to order Mr. McAllister.
Mrs. Bauer,
Here.
Mrs. Booth,
Here.
Madam President Carhart,
Present.
Dr. Goebbels,
Here.
Mr. McNally,
Present.
Mr. Stanton. Here. We have 6 members present. We have a quorum.
This is a legal meeting of the Board of Education as advertised by the means specified in board policy. A complete copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the boardroom for your review. A copy of the agenda is available at the desk of the recording secretary. Please stand and join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, some fun stuff. Presentation, special recognition, award for excellence. Mrs. Baumann.
Thank you, Madam President. I am excited to be able to present our first Award for Excellence award for the 2025-2026 school year, and would like to invite up Matthew Arns up to the podium while I talk about him a little bit. Matthew is our network administrator for the district, so many of you know him, so congratulations to Matthew. Everyone generally calls him Matthew, a few Matts. A few of the comments that I received, I have a whole page of comments on nominations, but a few to highlight is that he has been a cornerstone of the technology team for many years. He initiated and configured a district-wide card access system, our key fobs, enrolling users and overseeing implementation across all buildings. He proactively protects the district from cybersecurity threats. Sounds kind of superhero-like. Reinforcing MPS's digital infrastructure against evolving risks. He demonstrates unwavering professionalism while fielding a constant stream of technology-related questions, offering timely and thoughtful support to all staff. And as many of us at central office and administrators have seen, he approaches every task with admirable professionalism, consistently demonstrating a respectful and collaborative spirit. So we are very appreciative for everything that Matthew and his team do, and he is very deserving of this award. With his award, he gets a lovely plaque. He needs some decor in his new office, so that will be nice. He also will receive a $50 gift card from Hy-Vee. They donate and support our Award for Excellence program every year, so he can use that on anything he wants. I'm guessing his kids would like to go along to Hy-Vee and help spend that. And then he will receive $500 to spend in his department, something for the district that he will discuss with his supervisor, Mr. Hughes. Mr. Hughes, anything you want to say?
Yeah, completely well deserved. He has taught me acronyms in the technology world that I still don't know what they mean. So that is very, very nice of you. Just know that you'll continue to teach me for a while. But he is one of the best. He and I meet weekly, every Friday, just to go over our technology needs, let me know what's going on in the district. Just this last week, we instituted a phishing test for everybody, and we were able to see who passed, who failed. Luckily, this time I passed. But that was with his help, of course. But I couldn't think of anybody more well-deserving. Thank you for everything you do for our technology department, and most importantly for the district. And I know your kids are excited about Hy-Vee. I saw their expressions when they said that. So candy, right? All right, there you go.
And for those that can't see, the kids have some pretty cool signs back here that they're proud of their dad. So well done, kids. Good job. Would you like the mic?
Just like to say thank you for everyone that nominated me and wrote the nice things. Yeah, just thanks.
Okay. Congratulations. That's your gift card. And so anytime you guys can get. I'm sure they want to stay, but I did let them know they don't have to if they don't want to.
Congratulations, Matt. Nobody appreciates the tech guy more than the person when you need it and your computer can't get in or you can't have problems. So yes, you're the lifesaver. You can be the hero. Thank you. The next thing on our agenda is building visits. And I will start and say that I have not visited a building since our last meeting. I was going to let the school get it kind of in session before I started bugging them and asking to be for their time. So I have not visited a building. Does anybody else?
I am so excited because I'm actually getting to visit buildings this year since I'm not teaching school as I was last year. I had my visit with, visited the junior high with Mr. Vergitz today, and it was absolutely the most wonderful visit. We had such positive conversation. I asked him questions like, how can we as school board members support you and make things better for our kids and for our administration? And he had, the one thing he said he thought we could do the best to try and help is to constantly be aware that teachers want their subject matter noticed and appreciated and their teaching skills appreciated. And I couldn't agree more with that, and I'm hoping that I can continue to visit different teachers, individual teachers. The teacher I did today was Mr. Henkel, just because I know him so well. And Mr. Verkes and I actually sat, he scheduled time for me, and we actually sat and watched his class. And I learned things from our junior high music teacher, and I've been teaching music for 50 years. And to be able to see his techniques that I had never thought of using that were so effective. He's teaching a group of all boys in a choir, and to hear them sing, and just, I was so proud of him and so proud of the students. And I got to talk to the kids at the end of the class period and explain that, I was a school board member, and give them some encouragement and say that, if you want to, we're trying to prepare you, and that Mr. Henkel is not only preparing you for music, but also real life skills. And they were very respectful and listened and talked about how they need to stay in school and come every day and be on time and some of those life skills, because when they get out in the real world of employment, which is going to go quickly by, that they will be able to have those skills needed to be successful in their life. So it was just a marvelous visit, and I can't wait to go to the next visit and see what I can glean from that. But it was wonderful. I'm really happy to get back and be able to visit the schools.
Well, Brenda, I made up for you.
Good.
I did 2 visits.
This is good. I'm glad,
So
Patty.
you can
Thanks.
claim one of them if you want. The first one, I was not able to go to the middle school for a tour when they were scheduled. So Mrs. Brown was very gracious in setting up a tour for me of the new middle school additions. I am so thankful now that we have a safe and secure entrance to the middle school that was desperately needed. And we have, with that renovation, some beautiful office spaces that are being well used and completely used already. I mean, when you do that kind of renovation, you always hope you have a little extra space. But what I see is that they have filled every space, either with teachers teaching or people in offices. So it's maybe a good thing that they're full, but also it's kind of, you always hope there's a little extra room. I really was inspired by Mrs. Brown when she told me that she had an opportunity to look at the plans for the building in terms of how certain spaces were going to be used. And she provided some suggestions where changes occurred. For example, the in-school suspension room really needed to be a room that has a bathroom. Because those kids in-school suspension, you don't want them wandering through the school, right? And so she saw a way to make a change in which being used for that. And now the ISS is a bathroom. Throughout the building, and will really freshen the entire building up. So great visit, really fun to see the new spaces and how all of them are being used. Second visit, I went to Grant Elementary School. Grant has an enrollment of 181 students. I think that includes the 4 students that enrolled on Friday. And their enrollment population is 50% Hispanic, 40%, and then the remainder being other identified races. And they have very high chronic absenteeism rates. Mrs. Hastings told me that she has already done 5 home, I don't know if I'd call them home visits, but going to the homes of students to try to encourage parents to get those kids, make sure that they're coming to school. When I asked her what the greatest barrier was for keeping kids from coming to school, she said transportation. She said there are certainly other reasons that kids are chronically absent, but she shared a story of a mom who was walking with her child an hour one way every day to get that child to school, and then walking back to pick the child up and walking back home. I'm so thankful that Mrs. Hastings is really great about finding resources to help people to try and alleviate that kind of barrier and to thus reduce the chronic absenteeism, because we know when kids aren't in school, they're not able to learn and to keep up. What I was really excited, I learned how to play gaga ball. I don't know how many of you know that game, but I know it now. And I was excited because I had driven by one of the elementary schools and I thought, what is that little corral there? Because it kind of looks like a corral, and I wondered what animal they were keeping in the corral. So I'm glad to know it's just kids playing gaga ball. What I was really most excited about was that Mrs. Hastings and I spent a lot of time talking about what the 4th grade teachers are doing at Grant. They truly are embracing professional learning community, in that they are assessing students. This is English language arts, but they assess the students weekly. They identify the skills, which skills particular students don't have or have. And then it's not just the 4th grade teachers, but it also includes the Title I interventionist. It includes the special education teachers and the ELL teacher. And they have what they call rotations. So during those rotations, all of those teachers are involved. They're all in those classrooms, and students are working on whatever skills they don't possess. When I was in one of the classrooms, some of the kids were working on reading comprehension, and other kids were using software programs. I noticed one of them was working on trying to identify whether a word had a long vowel sound or a short vowel sound, and an E at the end of the word or not. And another child, it looked like, was working on beginning letters. Now I think you might say, whoa, right? This is 4th grade. But because of the students' mobility, I mean, they had 27 students leave Grant during the year last year and 25 come in. And I think you got the impression I said 4 kids enrolled on Friday. I mean, they have a lot of in and out of kids. And some of those kids, a number of them are coming not speaking any English. So you have really high ELL population. They don't focus so much on achievement scores being high. What they focus on is growth, and that's critically important. I mean, that really is target-based instruction at its best, and that also is differentiated learning at its best, because those kids are they target what skills they don't have, and then those kids work on those skills. It takes so much dedication from those teachers to do that. The amount of time that's involved to organize all of that and to make it be successful is incredible. But they're doing it because they value kids learning. So a wonderful visit. I think Mrs. Hastings and I probably could have talked all day, but we limited it to an hour and 45 minutes. So.
To public comments. Is there anybody that would like to speak in public comments? Okay, if so, I'll read all of my procedure, my rationale. If not, I'll move on. Okay. Then we'll have information discussion items. The first is board discussion. This is rationale, superintendent evaluation, and Board of Education self-assessment. I asked that this be put on the agenda item. That we should do an evaluation of Mr. McAllister, and I'd like to do a superintendent evaluation for a couple reasons. The first one being, I think it'd be a good learning tool for our new members, for Patty and Steve. When we have our new superintendent next year, we have to, by law, do 2 evaluations. So I thought doing one of Mr. McAllister this year would be a good thing. It would also help us board in deciding, as we do an evaluation of the superintendent, current one, what we want in a new superintendent. We could look at the values, how we're rating Mr. McAllister, and what we think is important. That would tell us what is important to us. Also, I thought the board self-assessment was good because we could, again, use it as a learning tool so that we know our role for a superintendent, what the superintendent's role is going forward with our new superintendent, and what we're looking for in that, having them be strengths in that role, and then also looking for what our board's role is with a new superintendent. My thought process is I had Mr. McAllister give you all these papers. These are policies and also the assessment that we did last year, just for our review, for you guys to look at the month of September to refresh our memory, basically. And then it'd also be new to Steve and Patty. So in the month of September, we would just refresh our memory, bring us up to speed, and then we'd actually do the evaluation of Mr. McAllister in October. The Superintendent Evaluation Committee is made up of Tom, Terry Bauer, and I thought maybe we could have a short 5-minute meeting after our activities meeting, which is next Monday, and we're the same 3 on activities, and we could put a game plan together as far as a superintendent evaluation. That is my thought process for this evaluation. Any comments, discussion items?
Brenda, I think that's a great, great idea. I like all your thought process on this. And I know when I first came on the board and did my first evaluation, I was lost. I was just lost. So I think the fact that you're keeping that in mind for the new members to have that experience before we have a new superintendent is an excellent idea. And I think great thoughts. And also to reflect on our own progress as school board members, I think is a really good idea as well. So that's my opinion.
I agree.
I agree, Brenda. I really appreciate the idea of using this as an opportunity for us to learn, but I think even more importantly, our 2 points, anytime we do an evaluation, we want it to be beneficial for the person we're evaluating, right? And I think the timing of you wanting to do this in October is probably, what, a third of the way through? So it really can serve kind of as a progress report for Mr. Mack. So I think that's especially important. And I also believe, even though we're not required to do this evaluation, you know, we are in, as people who are responsible for education policy and for the promotion of learning, I think we always need to be thinking about how do we help ourselves learn and how do we help our superintendent learn. If we expect our teachers to evaluate students, then we should be expecting ourselves to evaluate whomever is our employee, as well as assessing ourselves, reflecting on how we individually think we're doing, but also then tying that into collectively as a board, how are we doing and how can we improve, right? It doesn't matter how effective we think we might be. There's always opportunity for us to grow and to improve. So those are the reasons I think this, both self-evaluation and superintendent evaluation are important.
Yeah, we were starting to talk at the same time, and you pretty much said everything I was going to. So, I also think the superintendent evaluation. I think it's a good way for us to start to be able to look at the traits that we want in our next permanent superintendent, be able to identify those, and kind of do some pre-work before we get into the actual selection process.
In the self-assessment portion, NASB would help us with that. They've got a form for us that we could use from them. They would help guide us on that.
And I think, Brenda, I noticed they charge $300. That's very little for the amount of data and information that we'd get.
Okay, so anyway, take your packet of information, read, ask questions of Mr. McAllister or any other board member so you understand. Also, this superintendent appraisal instrument, if you guys decide you don't like it when we're doing it with Mr. McAllister, there are others available. So this is the time now where if we wanted to change it, we could too. So just keep that in mind. This is what we used last year, and NASB calculated all the results for us, but there are other instruments we could use too. So.
And you can make changes to it. It just does have to be sent to the Department of Education for approval before you can use it.
So we'll go forward with reading this. The three of us and the Superintendent Evaluation Committee will meet before our next board meeting, and we'll have more information on the 22nd as we move forward with dates and times. And I was just hoping too to get it in October, get it done in October before we really got into the heat of, or all the busyness of selecting a new superintendent. I wanted to get one done before we started the other big project too. Let's move on to Finance and Facilities report. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. Total amount of claims to be approved on the consent agenda by a specific fund are listed below. All of these claims have been reviewed earlier today by our Finance and Facilities Committee. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Do you want to explain why the senior high August checks is a separate line item?
The senior high August checks there are the checks that were used to pay our officials to work our activities for us. We didn't have any for the junior high this month. We hadn't had any activities yet. You'll see those on the next board meeting agenda as well. And those are just so we can pay our officials the night that they work, and they don't have to wait 6 weeks to get paid.
Officials and referees are hard to find, so we offer to pay them immediately so that they can, so we're more apt to get them or they'll come back. Okay, teacher and learning report. Jared Oswald.
Thank you, Madam President. I do have to say, Dr. Goebbels, that my son's a kindergartner at Lincoln, and I had to help him practice his gaga ball skills before I came to the meeting tonight. So, all right. So I began in July. I talked to you about our strategic action plan and goal setting that would go along with that. We talked about some of the challenges that go along with setting a goal based on state averages. One of those is that we don't get those results till November. And so some of the feedback, and Mr. Mack's been really good to work with on this because he has some ideas on how we could do some lead goals that would help guide our teachers. And so my office has been working for a couple months to set some really solid lead goals for our buildings that would allow us to give us a good starting point toward meeting that strategic action plan goal. And here are the goals that we've set for our different buildings. And these do, except for the first one is 80% more or more proficient on our priority learning targets as determined by our curriculum teams. That is a goal that we're setting for all of our K-12 teachers. So those things that we've already identified during our curriculum process. To make our PLC processes more effective, we are just setting that as a goal that for everything we've identified as a priority, we want to make sure we're getting at minimum 80% of our students to proficient on that target. And so that's the first goal that we have set. That will be a work in progress. Some of our buildings, as Dr. Goebbels mentioned, have really good PLC processes in place, and I would say it's been easier at the elementary level. But as we move up to the higher grades, they just are still working to implement those processes, and so they'll be starting with one priority learning target per quarter, hoping to build that into more of those as we go throughout the year and especially into the coming years. There are two goals that we've set that are specific to the testing that is done at K-8. So the next two, percent proficient on NSCAS reading, math, and science, as well as the percent of students hitting their expected growth. That is a number that they will get based on their fall MAPS assessment data, and that the company NWEA, who also does our NSCAS test, has a bunch of statistics they do that set an expected growth goal for each student. We're going to track the percentage of students who are hitting those goals. I've worked with each building to make that goal, those two goals specific for their building, because everybody's in a different place. And we really don't want to be in the business of comparing building to building. We want to compare buildings to themselves from previous years. And so we're setting those goals based on where they've been over the last 3 years and over the last year, so that each building has a goal that they can try to hit. And then my office works together with them to come up with strategies that they can use to approach those goals. And so those are specific to K-8 because of the type of testing they do. For the 9-12, for the high school level, they will focus on the 80% more proficient on learning targets, but then they're also going to set a goal based on their ACT, percent on track for ACT, ELA, math, and that should say science. So they're going to set a goal based on that. They're actually going to do that collaboratively with those teachers. They've got the numbers. I provided the numbers for them for the last 3 years and the last year, and then they're going to work together as to what they think is reasonable but also aggressive, and so that they can set a good goal for their building. And then the next thing I have is instructional playbook. I did provide each of you with a copy on this, a copy of this. With this being my second year in this position, one of the things that we really wanted to do in my office last year was solidify some of the processes that we have, establish a common framework that we're going to work within. And so that took the form of what you see there as the instructional playbook. I'm currently working to meet with each building and go through that with teachers so that we have a clear expectation of what our goals are from the Teaching and Learning Office, how we can support them. And so that is the information that I'm giving to each of those buildings and having conversations with those teachers. I will say that this is a working document. I'm always open to feedback, and if any of you have questions about either the goals that I just outlined or the instructional playbook, I'd be happy to sit down with any of you and talk through those things and explain where that was developed and how it was developed and what we're hoping to accomplish with it. So. The next thing I have is fall testing. Fall testing is underway. We've accomplished most of our MAP fluency testing, but we did wait to do our MAP growth testing until after Labor Day, so that is actually currently ongoing. We'll be hoping to get those numbers and then work to use that data to help set some of those goals that I mentioned earlier. Then the last thing I have is actually some very positive data. I can't share all the data from the NSCAS last year, but I can talk about the increases that we saw. So as many of you may remember, we adopted a new math program, K6, for last year. It was our first year of implementation. We saw some really incredible gains by our students if you look at last year's data versus the previous 2 years. So we saw a 5% increase in percent proficiency on NSCAS K4, a 10.5% increase in the percentage of students who hit their growth goals, their RIT growth goals in K4, and then a 6% increase on NSCAS in the 5th and 6th grade, their percent proficient, as well as an 11.5% increase in this percentage of students hitting their RIT growth goals. So those are some really exciting numbers. Oftentimes, implementations of new programs don't go that way. Usually there's actually a dip in our achievement after we implement a new program just because there's a learning curve. But we saw some great growth with this program, and I think I want to commend our teachers for the work that they've done to implement it well, and we hope to see continued growth with our math scores based on what we've seen so far. Any questions for me?
Jared, on the goal setting, you just have percent proficient NSCAS. Is that because you're still setting those goals, or each building is different? And when you complete will we see the goals that have been set for all the buildings?
So that is exactly why you just see the percent proficient. It is specific by building. That's something I've talked about with Mr. Mack, how we want to show those to you. I think that'll be a conversation he and I have, and then we can talk about how we present that to you guys as a board.
So I have a question about the coaching program that you're talking about. Who is coaching the teachers? Who is being the coaches?
We have instructional coaches in our office, or instructional leaders, because they do take on a lot of hats. And so we have Nancy Probasco as our K-4 instructional leader, Sherry Thielen is our 5-8 instructional leader, and Chris Begeman is our 9-12. And so part of their role is to do the instructional coaching.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Student Programs Report.
Thank
Lynette.
you, Madam President. Appreciate that. And first on the agenda for me tonight is the student health. Recently met with the school nurses, and Elkhorn Logan Valley meet with us, and we talk about how the year is going, and we talked about, our AEDs, batteries and things all okay, our supplies okay, are we meeting the needs of our students? And it was just a very nice conversation, very collegial, that they're working together to provide support services for our students. One of the other things we talked about was flu shots. Last year, the nurses were in 13 different buildings, and we served about 100 staff members with flu shots, and they felt maybe we could look at that and see if we could condense that a little bit and make it a little bit easier for people to, get the shots and be more conscious of the time that was spent in that. And so they're kind of condensing into buildings, and it's during a work day. And so staff will have availability to more easily. They won't be missing class or time with students if they wanted to, go get a flu shot. So it'll hopefully be time saving for our staff and our students as well. Native American liaison, just letting you know we're continuing to advertise for the position, and planning on reaching out to the Ponca tribe to see if they would possibly have some leads for us that we could, encourage people to apply for the position. Right now, Mrs. Stacy Uzel and I are kind of doing the requirements of that, and so we're working hard, but neither of us had done that previously. So we're on a good learning curve, but I feel like we're hanging in there and doing a good job getting the information and the reporting done that needs to be completed there. And last is ELL enrollment. So when a student or a family enrolls with Norfolk Public Schools, they complete what's called a home language survey. And any family that marks that English is not their native language, we screen them in a system called TIDE. TIDE is where the assessment is housed and that kind of thing. And so just was going to give you an update that so far, and this was as of 2 weeks ago, and I know we're well into the 80s now, but as of the last Friday in August, we had screened 75 students, which 83% of those were kindergarten students. And of that group of students, we have 6 languages that are spoken in addition to English. This number appears to be slightly below, but yet close and on track with what we had the previous year.
This Native American liaison, do we get grant funding for this? And do we still have that funding?
Yes, we do. We do get grant funding for that.
The salary is covered through the grant. Obviously, if we don't have anybody hired for that position, we aren't able to file for reimbursement on it. It's not an expense to us, but it's also then not a revenue.
Is that a full-time position, and can you give me an idea what their job responsibilities are?
It is, I believe it's like a 10-month position, and I think that might be a little bit of, most people that apply are looking for maybe a 12-month employment. Some of the duties that they have are working with our Native American families on, I know we gave out school supplies. They also work with making sure, helping families get students to school, working on attendance, working with families on any needs that they might have that might be precluding them from students attending school, things like that. So they actually have meetings with families as well, like they have larger group meetings with the families to talk about, what concerns there might be or what needs they have.
So during that 10 months, it's a full-time position, 8 hours a day, okay.
Yes, they do work an 8-hour day, 5 days a week.
And they're also supporting our students, if they need a little extra help, if they're checking in with them weekly. Just giving them another person to build trust with and that somebody to believe in.
Is this position required by the federal government or state government, or just something we've always had?
It's just something we've always had. Obviously, we've had the grant funding to continue to support the position. And often, if we have a need, we want to try to make sure we can meet those needs and help those students and those families that overcome any barriers that are helping stop them from coming to school or keep them in that forefront where we can have that connection, that relationship, a positive one for us here.
It's a grant, federal or state?
It is a federal grant.
Lynette, the position you had mentioned is 10 months. Maybe explain that. And the other thing is if you could run the salary over a 12-month period, maybe it would be more appealing.
Yeah, the position is 10 months because that's when our students and families are in school. And so it is served by someone, you don't have to necessarily have a bachelor's degree to be the liaison in the position. And I guess if we were to move it over 12 months, we would probably be looking at additional funding outside of the grant because the grant doesn't cover the full salary.
Well, I was talking about spreading their total gross income over 12 months versus 10 months, so they get paid every month. Maybe you can't because of the federal funding.
I don't know if you have the number on the top of your head, but how many Native American students do we have enrolled?
We're just looking at those numbers today, and it really does vary by students and by the building level. And we have to do a report on that just this week. So at the next board meeting, I can have that for you with exact numbers.
For the ELL students, was there any new languages or dialects?
Not that I'm aware of. It seems to be 6 that have been probably in the district for a while.
Okay, Student Services reports. Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Madam President. For suicide training, we are required to train all of our staffs at least 1 hour's worth every school year. Our licensed mental health practitioners were able to provide that for our staff this year. Anybody that was absent, we were able to give them a video through Vector or AliCap, our insurance provider. And so we are cleaning that up and making sure that the final people are completing their suicide training. But this is also a good time for everybody to know that National Suicide Prevention Month is September. A reminder that if you or someone you know has suicidal thoughts, you can reach out to Safe to Help. Safe to Help is an anonymous reporting site that is free to school districts. Safe to Help information is on the back of all of our student ID cards. And the state also has a suicide and crisis hotline for anyone. All they have to do is dial 988. Second report, Salvation Army has started an after-school program for both Grant and Washington. Those are our only 2 buildings that do not have like a Y Kids program. This is great, as I was able to meet with Cora Cole with the Salvation Army along with Mr. Specht from Washington and Ms. Hastings from Grant. The nice thing about it, they are offering, they call it a meal, and then there's scheduled activities and some free time. But the biggest thing for our Grant and Washington families is the Salvation Army is going to provide transportation for them. So that's a piece that we have been missing. It's awesome that the Salvation Army has come up with 2 vans to help out with that. I did ask them, well, what happens if we fill those up? They said that would be a great problem to have, and we'll figure it out later. So, but good thing for our students there. And then the last thing that I have for you is a junior high cell phone update as we were working through the cell phone policy. I believe as Mr. Stanton asked me monthly if we could come up with a junior high update because they have transitioned from the cell phones in the hallways and everything to basically kind of like the middle school has been in the past, which is no cell phones most of the day. So a comment from Mr. Vergitz. He thinks the school year started off very well with students complying with the new cell phone personal electronics policy. He is able to see students much more engaged in face-to-face conversations during the school day. He feels that the staff at the junior high has done a very good job of enforcing the new policy, and he is pleased with the progress thus far. And Ms. Bohe, who is a 7th grade social studies teacher, says it has been a very positive change at the junior high. She has asked some students, what is something you like about the junior high? And one student shared that she likes to walk and talk with her friends during passing periods. Prior to the cell phone policy, students did not talk to each other as they went from one class to another, as the students were looking at their phones, texting, whatever. The new cell phone policy is encouraging social interaction, and it definitely has minimized distraction during the school day. And then I did ask Mr. Vergitz if he could get me an office referral report from last year so we could compare it to this year. In August of 2024, they had 17 cell phone misuse office referrals, and this year in August, they had 6. And of those 6, 5 were 8th grade students, because as the 7th graders have transitioned, they have never known cell phones in the hallways or any of that. So it's been a very, very good change early. Well, hopefully it continues, but wanted to give you that report. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that update, and I really appreciate the comparison data from last year. I think that's going to be really good to see going forward.
I'm probably just super excited about this because when I was substituting in the school, I saw a lot of the abuse that was going on with the cell phones. So to be able to visit with Mr. Burgess about it, and he was so happy and so positive about what was going on, and I'm just really excited about it.
Human Resource and Accreditation Report, Mrs. Baumann.
Thank you, Madam President. On my agenda today, the NPS instructional model training was held, which we hold for all of our new teaching staff. The entire group is divided into 2, half of them on August 21st and half on September 4th. So they spent a full day here at central office with Jared's teaching and learning team. They were working hard to learn the essential concepts and strategies to enhance learning and instruction in their classroom. So 2 very successful days. Job fairs are already beginning. I have already traveled to 2 of them. Lynette went with me to one, along with Mr. Virgitz. We've already attended Wayne State Education Fair and UNK's Education Fair. We're recruiting for next year, starting already, but we're also still recruiting for some unfilled special education positions that we have this year. So hoping to fill it semester with some December graduates, but already looking ahead to fill for next year. Don't know what positions we'll have open, but networking and talking to students that want to be in the area and encouraging them. I know Mr. Virgitz was emailing a few people the day after the fair just to stay in contact. So I think we're all, every district still fighting for the same people, so want to stay ahead of that. In addition, student teachers in the district, we currently have 8 student teachers, which our fall number of student teachers is usually a little less than our spring number. We have students from Wayne State College, USD, and Shadron. And I've gotten some very positive feedback from our administrators about the start to the year.
Angie, I just have a question. How do you feel like you have adequate numbers of substitute teachers signed up to handle the need for the school year in that area?
Yeah, we've really had a great start. So our payroll department, we bring in our substitute teachers, do paperwork and pass it on to payroll, and they input into a system and said we already have more signed up this year than we had at the end of the year last year. So for this week, we don't have any unfilled teacher positions for subs. So we can all be really happy about that.
Awesome.
We would certainly take some more paraprofessional subs if anyone is looking to fill that role.
Superintendent's report, Bill McAllister.
Thank you, Madam President. Update on tomorrow, the BLT team, that's the building leadership team, meets. We meet twice a month to focus on the school level leadership and decision making. Our central office leadership team meets weekly, and so the things that we're talking about in here, we all have an opportunity to discuss ahead of time. Visiting schools has been going very well, and I've heard a lot of positive comments. We will be making a change to that to where we don't go first thing in the morning. I've seen all the openings at the elementary twice, so we just want to make sure, and we'll let the BLT teams know that tomorrow, that we will just be there during that day sometimes so we can see different things. So committee meetings, everybody should have got their schedule that I sent out to you, and we'll look at those and start putting times and dates onto those committee meetings. NASB area membership meeting was a good event. Thank you for those who went. I also attended the Booster Club Steak Fry, which was wonderful. Just to meet some people that I don't know. And I also want to really thank the people in here. Mr. Wilson and his staff, they have done a wonderful job on the budget with me meddling. Meeting with Mrs. Mitchell, and I had a meeting at a school with some people, and I just really complimented her on the job that she did on keeping the transition and the conversation on a positive note, but at the same time stating this is what we have to do. Mr. Oswald, I continue to meddle with him as well, but wonderful conversations on the teaching and learning with his team. Mrs. Bauman to go to the job fairs, and I think she had 92.
Yes, at Wayne State, we had 92 check-ins at our table with college students coming to meet us. Yeah.
So that is just wonderful that you take the initiative to go and do that. And that is my report, unless there's, and Mr. Hughes on the emergency operation plan that was sent to all of you, and the work he's doing and the conversations that we're able to have with anticipating things that are kind of confidential things, but with each building, the best we can. He's doing a wonderful job with that.
I just want to comment on that because Mr. Hughes, that had to have taken a lot of time to compile all that information, and I really appreciated having that. So thank you so much.
Thanks. A lot of it was done prior to me, but we still have to go through and double check all the names and numbers and all that good stuff. So it's pretty comprehensive, but it's good that we have it.
Can I go back and ask a question based on your comment about 92 people at the career fair? How many of those were special ed candidates?
Not enough. Not enough. We did have some special education students that'll be graduating in December or May that did come and visit with us. But I was told that the incoming class had more special education majors than they had seen in a while. So that's a few years down the road, but it is encouraging.
Thank you. Let's move on to policy committee reports. The first one is the policy committee. Oh, wait, no, I skipped committee reports. Let's do finance and facilities. The finance facilities met August 25th and September 8th. We meet at 4:30 before this meeting. We went through monthly board bills. We talked about budget again and again and expenditures. And then the board will vote on our budget on the next meeting on 9/22, which will be at noon. We did a facilities update, already talking about next summer projects and what we need to do for building maintenance. And then the audit for the school's finances already starts Wednesday, so next Wednesday. So they're going the business office is getting ready for the audit. So just as soon as we get budget done, we move into audit. So is there any questions about the finance facilities for the committee?
Just curiosity, what are some of the anticipated maintenance projects for next summer?
You want to talk about this, or all I know is roof on the high school. You want to explain that?
That is a big one, the roof on the high school, a portion of the roof on the high school. It's the last portion that hasn't been replaced. And I'll do a comprehensive facilities review with you guys as we get closer to putting projects out for bid. We always have lots of concrete projects, and HVAC's always something that needs upgraded.
Okay, now, policy committee report by Tom Stanton.
Thank you. Policy committee met on September 2nd. All members were present. Policies reviewed by the committee with recommended revisions were policy 3132, internal controls, There was a small wording change related to simplified acquisition threshold, and that was recommended from Perry Law Firm. Policy 3550 related to rebates to school personnel. That policy was revised to add language to clarify that any rebates from school purchases, such as those from Menards, must be used for school-related expenditures. And then policy 9320, regular meeting was revised to add public comment to be included in the order of business for the second regularly scheduled board meeting of the month. And we also replaced executive session with closed session for just consistency throughout the policies. And any questions from the board on that?
Tom, who's on the policy committee?
It's myself, Cindy, and Patty.
Next, approve consent agenda. We have the minutes from the previous meeting attached. And claims, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. Attached are the claims. The claims have been reviewed by our Finance and Facilities Committee. There is one conflict statement that needs to be read prior to voting.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Patty and a second by Tom. Is there any discussion?
Yes, out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and am abstaining from voting on claim number 407 for the month of September in the consent agenda for this meeting. I've signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all of the remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the item which I've identified or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto.
Let's vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Okay, now action items. Now I'll make something happen. First one, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the hiring of a superintendent search firm. We'll have a motion and we can discuss it.
I move to hire the NASB search program as a superintendent search firm.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Patty and a second by Steve. Is there any discussion? I agree with this NASB. I felt they did a good job with our interim. I know what to expect. I thought Sherry was very open, honest, authentic, and I enjoyed working with her, and I think she'll do a good job with the permanent replacement for the superintendent.
I agree. Since we've already worked with her, we know what to expect, and since she's already worked with us, I think she already has a good baseline of what we're looking for in a superintendent.
I appreciated that she said that she's willing to be flexible, because there are a number of things that, as I thought through the process and the procedures, that I'd like for us to talk about and perhaps recommend that they do. Just one example is my perception when we were doing the interim superintendent search. Remember, we filled out a survey about challenges in the district and strengths in the district. That felt to me like we would have been better served to have just had a discussion, because when survey results come back, we just kind of accepted that we all agreed with all of those, when I'm not sure that was really the case, right? Because we didn't really talk through it. I think, that's one thing that could be dispensed with and replaced with just conversation with her to identify strengths and challenges. So I don't know how, Brenda, you might want to approach us, kind of talking through what things maybe we would like for her to change a little bit in the process, but I think there are some things that would really beef up the process in terms of conversation as well as decision-making.
Like you want lots of meetings with open discussion.
Talk is always good.
Anybody else, any more discussion on thoughts on this motion? Okay, please vote then.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Okay, well, being that passed, we don't need 9.2 because we already have one now, we voted. I will reach out to Sherry and let her know, and we'll get the process started. 9.3, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the first reading of revised board policies 3132, 3550, and 9320, order of business. Mr. McAllister.
Okay, Tom already went over some of the brief changes in this. On business operation, it falls underneath the procurement item and a procedure for simplified acquisition threshold. It replaces the word small purchases between 10,000 to 250,000. So that's the only language change in that policy that we're looking at. Business operations, we have a policy 3550 on rebates to school personnel, but what is not in there is rebates from school purchases must be used for future school-related expenditures, i.e. Menards rebates, if Baumgart's rebates, they have to be used for school things. Should go without saying, but it needs to be in policy. And then policy 9320 simply changes the word executive session to closed session. That aligns with our Open Meeting Act language. Okay, so we would just want to be consistent in that. Any questions on any of those policies?
Bill, regarding 3132, can you run that by me again? Was it upping the amount without approval?
No, the only language change is it said a procedure for small purchases. They took out small purchases and put in simplified acquisition threshold. The amounts didn't change at all, just the wording.
Thank you.
It's 250,000 that you can make without board approval, or what? No, I'm confused.
No. This is a policy you had, and that language was already in there. You have to have, the limit is $100,000, and then you have to have RFPs, and you have to have 2 bids. Is that right? 100,000. So the only change in this is not changing the policy at all, from small purchases to simplified acquisition threshold.
Numbers didn't change them. Okay.
They did not.
And we had previously made this same change, but this was one evidently we missed. So that's why we're coming back to it and making it correct. Because the policy, all of those used to say small purchases, and they were changed to this new language.
It's advised by the attorney, I think it was. Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of revised board policies 3132 internal controls, 3550 rebates to school personnel, and 9320 order of business.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Cindy and a second by Patty. Is there any other discussion?
Just an additional clarification. On the policy order of business, in addition to changing executive to closed session, we also added in there an agenda item, public comment, because that was not there before. And as you know, public comment is now required at every meeting. So we wanted to make sure we had included that.
Good catch.
Thank you, that is correct. That's what's listed.
Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Discuss, consider, and take action per policy 8320 on suspending policy 5007 to allow for the admission of a foreign exchange student. Mr. McAllister, would you like to take over? And
Yes, we have Erin here to visit. She has a foreign exchange student coming. As we look at our policies, the foreign exchange student does not meet the policy standard of the August 1st deadline. Therefore, in policy, and I sent them to you, it's in 5007 gives the board that you can suspend a policy. Obviously, I cannot, so we're just going to follow the policy. So when they ask about enroll, and I decline that, but she had requested to come visit with the board because you have that authority and I don't. Okay, Aaron?
Oh, I'm a little shaky. We recently got a foreign exchange student, and he was accepted in late to the United States, and so he's been here for a week now. We have him, and we would just like to have him attend Norfolk Public Schools. We want to give him the best American experience that he deserves, and so my daughter is there, and so I'm just asking if we could approve for him to attend even though it's after the deadline.
So it sounds to me that it was something that he couldn't avoid. It was something within the
It was
program that he
it was
got
from
through later.
ISC, yeah, and he was already in the process of coming here when they had talked to Mr. Settles, and they didn't know that there was a August 1st deadline either, and so now we're all aware of policy 5007. But we couldn't stop him, like he was already here. So he's been here for a week, and I'm hoping that we can get him in if possible.
Aaron, did I understand that he's already graduated from high school?
He is. He did year 13, so he, most of the time they'll come over before year 13, but he went all the way through. His application was actually there for 2 years. It's just taken that long to filter through the system, and so this is really his last opportunity to come to the United States.
I think you already said it, but remind me, Aaron, where's your student from?
He's from Paris.
That's too bad.
I know. Yeah.
And have you talked to the other two schools? Could he go to one of those if he can't get in here?
He probably, I would say maybe could go to Lutheran High. The problem with ISC and any foreign exchange student program is they cannot ask the student's family to pay tuition. He already paid $27,000 to come to the United States, and so with their exchange programs, you cannot force, so we would have to find a sponsor. We'd have to find sponsors for him, because we legally can't ask his parents to pay that amount of money to go to those schools, so.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend policy 5007 to allow for the admission of a foreign exchange student in accordance with policy 8320.
I'd second it.
We have a motion by Steve and a second by Cindy. Is there any other discussion?
Yes. This does open the door. We declined a previous student because it was late. And we've also declined high school students that have asked to option in because the high school is full. The grade is full. So as we make this exception, it may open the door for more. This is foreign exchange, but it may open the door for option enrollment to come to you and appeal to suspend rules as well. What you decide is up to you, but I want to make you aware of that.
So by making an exception for this policy, it opens the doors. Now everybody can think, we'll just go to the school board and they'll make an exception and we won't follow policy because they haven't in the past, is what is the image that we might be giving.
If anything, if we're going to make exceptions to policy, I think then the policy committee needs to take this back and look at the policy and see what pieces need to be changed into policy. From an administrative standpoint, my view is always, I'm going to follow policy. And if I don't like the policy, then you go and you change the policy. But that's our role. Your guys, you have a different jurisdiction. So, and sometimes things like this prompt a policy change. So it's up to you. And the young man does fit all the other criteria. I talked to the organization about his visa, but he has graduated. So, and I didn't see anything in our policy.
It isn't our policy that we don't accept students who've already graduated from high school.
I definitely think that we can, or we should take a look at this in policy committee in the future to see if there's any revisions that we need to look at. I'm not sure.
We know how many other foreign exchange students we currently have? Thank you.
One. Oh, I thought you were asking me. There's one. Can I make a comment when you guys talk about possibly making an exception? I personally, like, I've had 13 foreign exchange students, so this isn't my first one, but the first one in high school. And a lot of students, with the way their curriculum runs, some of them don't come till later. I know that, I don't know if I read that there is a, because I did go through and read the policy, that they could get into second semester if it's by a certain date. I didn't know if that went with foreign exchange students or not, but if you look at changing the date, personally, I would make a suggestion that you change it back just a little further. Maybe September 1st would be good, because some of them, they can't get over here right away.
But do they know they're coming before they're over here?
No, no. He actually, when they told him he was coming, it was literally, they told him he was on a plane the next day and he was here. It's like, as soon as they find your host, like, you're gone. Like, there's no waiting. So we accepted to take him. If I would have known all of this was involved, I wouldn't, but I'd never had a high school student, so I didn't know how everything worked. But we found out on Thursday, he was told on Friday, and he was here on Saturday. So it was a fast move. It wasn't.
To me, you're describing some very extenuating circumstances that wouldn't be normal for the
Yeah.
situation. And so I think we need to take that into account.
Thank you.
Do you know how old he is?
He just turned 18.
He's 18.
Yep, he turned 18 in May. Oh, sorry. 18 in May.
I am going to vote against suspending this policy for the main reason that we have a policy in place for a reason, and if we need to change the policy, then that's something that the policy committee should do or investigate and bring it back to the board about the policy change instead of just making exceptions for any time that it comes up. So I will vote against this.
I will say,
Looking at the policy and looking at this specific situation, if we were just looking at a deadline that we missed, I might be willing to consider it, but since we have we'd be making multiple exceptions to the policy, I think that tells us that we need to look at the policy and not make an exception at this time. I also, as Mr. McAllister said, if we're turning away option students, those students absolutely should take priority.
Well, I'm going to support the policy suspension on this due to the circumstances, and that the policy committee would make the changes. He's 18 years old, and he probably got put into a situation that he had no control of, and I think it would really not be a good look if we didn't support this foreign exchange student.
my focus is on how does this affect him as a student? He's coming to school almost, 3 weeks after school has started, and that can't help but put him at a disadvantage. So that's a big concern for me.
I've had many foreign exchange students, and my experience is that if depending on the country they're coming from, France and Norway are two of the countries, non-English speaking countries, that every student I've ever met from either one of those has a really, really great handle on the English language. And I found that their ability to integrate into our system has been very easy for them. And most of the times, the classes, the background that they've had, the courses that they'll be taking is probably just going to be a review I think that the social side of it will help because of the grasp of the English language. So I do support it. I think it would be the kid's been trying to come here for 2 years. His family put $27,000 down. It's a financial hardship. I agree that it's a flag that we should definitely look at this because I've seen these students too. They don't know when they're going to come. When you step up and say, "I'll do it," and the sponsors is trying to talk me into take one, and then as soon as you say yes, they're there. So, and I think this student would also very much enrich the education for any other student at Norfolk High School. It'd be my children got so much out of exchange students, so I'm all for it.
I would think the search team that's handling the foreign exchange students' placement, I mean, they would know, I mean, we must be behind in times on this date.
Any other discussion? Please vote.
Motion failed, 3-3. Voting nay, Brenda Carhart. Oh, I lost it. Patty Goebbels and Tom Stanton.
Nine point five, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the 2025-26 Emergency Operations Plan. Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Madam President. Every year, we make sure that all of our confidential emergency contact information and building maps are updated for our building administrators. This information, along with our emergency procedures, is compiled in our Emergency Operations Plan, or EOP. It was developed with the help of local law enforcement, emergency management, and Norfolk Public Schools staff. I have shared the updated information with our board members. Due to the confidentiality, I cannot have it attached. I am asking for approval of the 2025-2026 EOP.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025-2026 emergency operations plan.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion by Tom and a second by Patty. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
9.6, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Plan. Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Madam President. The Lower Elkhorn Natural Resources District, LENRD, Hazard Mitigation Plan has been officially approved by FEMA. The plan identifies hazards such as flood, fire, severe weather, and is required to qualify for FEMA hazard mitigation grants should a need arise in the future. This plan runs from August 12th, 2025 through August 11th, 2030. As required by FEMA, each participating jurisdiction must formally adopt the plan. I am asking for approval of the NPS Hazard Mitigation Plan for FEMA.
I'll make a motion to approve the NPS hazard mitigation plan for FEMA.
I'll second the motion.
A motion by Tom and a second by Patty. Is there any discussion?
Just a question. I noticed that Dr. Thompson is still listed on the plan. And I also noticed this goes from August to 2030. Is that why her name was just left there, since we don't know who the soup will be?
And I don't have the ability to make the changes on the formal plan. Eric Wilson is also on there because he and I kind of worked together a little bit to form it, but at the time he was the director of student services, so his name is on there as well. But I imagine in 2031 there'll be some changes on there.
Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Okay, we have future meetings. The next regular monthly meeting of Board of Education is scheduled for Monday, September 22nd at noon. The following regular meeting of the Board of Education will be held Monday, October 13th at 5:30. All components of these meetings will be held right here in central administration offices and will be open to the public unless a closed session is needed in order to protect the interests of the district and the reputation of an individual. We do need to go into closed session tonight as needed to prevent the needless injury to a reputation of an individual. Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make a motion to enter into closed session to prevent needless injury to the reputation of an individual.
I'll second the motion.
By Tom and a second by Patty. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Go into closed session at 7:15. We're going to reconvene from closed session at 7:27. 11.3, approval of any action. 11.31, discuss, consider, and take action regarding the resignation of Jillian Montoya, effective August 25th, due to extreme extenuating circumstances. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Jillian Montoya, effective August 25th, 2025, due to extreme extenuating circumstances.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion by Tom and a second by Patty. Is there any other discussion? Just, I didn't read Jillian Montoya as a special education teacher at Westside Elementary School and resigned. Please vote.
Motion failed, 0-6. All board members voting nay.
That brings us to the end of our meeting. Meeting adjourned at 7:28. Thank you.